This weekend marks 5 months since a drunk driver barreled into the lobby of St. David's North Austin Medical Center, killing herself and injuring 5 others.
This week on Inside the Investigations, investigator Matt Grant explains a major safety change impacting Austin hospitals will be voted on in direct response to our reporting.
And good morning to all of you, and thanks so much for joining us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live studio for another edition of Inside the Investigations. This is our weekly segment where we deep dive into one of the stories that our Investigates team has put out there, and we'll talk more about the process and what they found and maybe what's to come too. So joining us as always is my co-host, and that's investigative reporter Kelly Wiley. Kelly, always good to see you.
Always good to be here.
So glad we're here for this conversation because this is a bit of an update from a story that we've talked about several times on this live stream.
This is a big deal. This came from breaking news. We're often, after big breaking news happens, trying to dig deeper into the story. And Matt Grant, one of our investigators, is great at doing this. And this story is the perfect example of how we champion breaking news and try to figure out what's going on even after the fact.
And the legs continue from there. So let's bring in investigative reporter Matt Grant. Matt, nice to see you as well. Thanks for being here too.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Matt, let's dive in. On July 18th, the Austin City Council is going to vote on a resolution directly tied to our investigative reporting on the crash at St. David's North Austin Medical Center. Tell us what exactly this new resolution would do.
Yeah, Kelly. So Councilmember McKenzie Kelly filed this resolution on Friday. Officially, it was published and it will be voted on. And interestingly, one of the bullet points in it says, whereas a KXAN investigation. It specifically cites what we found with our investigation into that February 13th crash, where we uncovered more than 300 right now, more than 340 that we know of crashes across the country just into medical centers. So what happened in Austin is unfortunately happening and has happened all across the country. What this resolution will do specifically, though, if it passes, it would implement a major safety change at hospitals in Austin. So it would require new hospitals that are built in the future to install, they're called Ballards, safety Ballards. You've probably seen them. Maybe you haven't given them much thought until now, but they're like those posts. You see them often in front of gas stations, like a 7-Eleven or that kind of thing. They would be required to be installed in front of new hospitals. The issue now is with existing hospitals, and so the resolution also addresses that. Kelly says they can't require existing hospitals under code to install these bollards, which you're seeing on your screen right now. Those are the ones, by the way, that St. David's installed after the crash. But what Kelly wants to do, and what others have co-signed onto her resolution, is it would encourage hospitals to voluntarily require them through incentives. So the city manager would be tasked with looking at ways to encourage hospitals to do this, either through like maybe tax breaks or in some cases it would trigger a requirement. So if a hospital, an existing hospital, was to apply for a permit, let's say they want to expand their ER or they want to do some kind of construction, they'd have to apply for a permit. Under this resolution, that's one of the things that would be discussed, is that it would trigger, that permit application would trigger a requirement to install bollards. So Kelly has thought of and is trying to find ways to make all hospitals in Austin comply with these safety bollards, which experts say really can save lives and might have prevented what happened almost 5 months ago.
And Matt, you mentioned there Councilmember McKenzie Kelly, who represents parts of Northwest Austin. How did she get involved with this, though?
So after we did our initial investigation, where we looked at how frequently these crashes occur, why they occur, part of that we also looked at crash-rated bollards, and we sent our investigation to every council member in Austin, but we also sent it to more than 50 state lawmakers, and we sent our investigation to other city councils as well, not just in the Austin area, but other places that have had similar types of crashes. Almost immediately, council members McKenzie Kelly and Vanessa Fuentes reached out to us and said that they wanted to work on a solution to try to stop these types of crashes from happening again. And so we interviewed both Kelly and Fuentes. They both started working on something. Kelly was the one who introduced the resolution. Councilmember Fuentes co-signed onto it, as did other members as well. I had mentioned we reached out to other city councils, at least one in College Station. Councilmember Bob Yancey there is also right now working on a similar ordinance resolution in College Station that would require bollards in that city. So this is something that seems like it's gaining a lot of traction locally and starting to across the state.
And Matt, one of the interesting things about the resolution is it mandates specifically crash-rated bollards. And you talked about College Station. Part of why they're saying they want crash-rated bollards specifically is because of something that you found while in College Station, right?
Right. So it's not good enough to just say we want bollards. We found through our investigation that it's really important to have that distinction of crash-rated bollards. So we went to Texas A&M's Transportation Institute, which is very close to College Station, and we were able to watch and get rare access to crash tests firsthand of bollards. And we watched two tests. We watched one that was of a bollard that was not crash rated to this international standard. And then we watched one that was crash rated. And so the machine that they used to test it simulated basically like a big truck going 20 miles an hour, which is basically like they do 20 miles because that's kind of like the average or the max speed that a vehicle might be going in a parking lot setting. And we found that the crash rated bollard held up and protected the vehicle from going any further, whereas the bollard that was not crash rated was sliced in half and it did nothing. So that distinction there, experts say, safety advocates, the people who make these bollards, they stress that it's really important to have crash test rated ones, and that's what Kelly's ordinance or resolution would do.
It will, of course, be interesting to see what the Austin City Council, as well as the College Station leaders, ultimately do with their different versions of this same resolution. But going back to that crash that happened earlier this year at North Austin St. David's Medical Center, what about the family that you had talked to previously that suffered pretty serious injuries during this crash?
Yeah, it was pretty terrible what happened to them. So it was a family of four, Nadia and Levi, mom and dad, and then their two toddlers, Sonny and Rio. Sonny just turned 2 years old. And they were in the lobby of the hospital at the time. They were looking at an aquarium when the vehicle, and we now know that the driver who was killed in the crash was almost 3 to 4 times the legal limit to drive under the influence. Drove into the ER, drove into the lobby, and ran over the family. They all suffered pretty serious injuries. Nadia broke her leg. She was in a wheelchair for a while. I believe she still is. And the kids were hurt really bad too. So they were told about this resolution that Councilmember Kelly filed. And they're really in support of this. Through their attorney, they tell me that they want to be at next week's council meeting to testify in favor of this. Their mission right now is they say they don't want what happened to them to happen to any other family. And so they want to come, even though they're hurt, they want to be there to show support for this. We've also learned last week that a fifth person, so we know that there were at least 5 people that were hurt in this crash, all 4 members of the Bernard family who spoke exclusively with us, and a fifth person. And that other victim we now know has also joined a lawsuit for more than $1 million against St. David's, alleging gross negligence for not having bollards at the time.
And we should note, St. David's had previously told us the safety of our patients and their families, as well as our employees and visitors, is always our top priority. They also told us it would work with policymakers to comply with any new laws that passed. But the hospital, according to your reporting, would not comment on the lawsuit, right, Matt?
That's correct.
Well, thank you so much for walking us through this. And I mean, it's not always that we see reporting, investigative reporting that results in action. I think it's always our hope that there's some sort of impact from our reporting, but we're continuing to see the impact of this investigation, and we'll be watching. We know you'll be there on July 18th.
We will, and if it leads to safety changes and makes things better and safer for others because of our investigations, then that would be a great thing.
All right, we'll leave our conversation there. Investigative reporter Matt Grant, thank you so much again for joining us here this morning. We appreciate your reporting, and we'll look forward to what comes next.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, that is Matt Grant. And Kelly, I think that was a good way to wrap up our conversation. Of course, we'll have more reporting to highlight in the coming weeks ahead, right?
It's an exciting lineup, a lot of powerful reporting that's happening in our little upstairs office. So we're excited to share it.
We cannot wait to bring those conversations with you, but for now, we'll leave it there. That is investigative reporter Kelly Wiley. I'm Will Dupree here in the KXAN Live studio. Thank you all again for joining us for Inside the Investigations, and we'll see you back here at another time. Take care.